What's going on there, YouTube? And welcome to Fresh Comic Stories. Guys, this is the channel that we basically sit down and cover different kinds of comic book stories. Now, guys, today we're going to jump back over to DC Comics and pick up with JLA, aka Justice League of America. Now, back in the 90s, guys, this was the first comic book series we saw the A-list heroes come together to form the new JLA. Because back in the early 90s, they had a bad roster full of C-list characters that no one cared for. And so they called up Grant Morrison and said, hey man, make us a brand new JLA team. And he brought in the A-list characters: Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, Aquaman, and my boy Martian the Manhunter, and said, hey, this is going to be our new JLA team right here. And it worked. And so today we're going to cover issue number 1 through 4, the first storyline of JLA written by Grant Morrison. So I do hope you enjoy this storyline right here. So the story starts off at the White House, and we see the president freaking out because he was supposed to have a superhero escort. This was supposed to be a day where he was going to show some other countries that America has some firepower, except the escort he hired did not show up. But while he's complaining about this problem, that is when a random spaceship lands right next to the White House. Which of course, this leads to the president and his team to call in some help. The first person to arrive onto the scene, of course, is Superman himself. Something else to point out is that this is in the mid to late 90s, and that means right after the death of Superman. And so that is why he has his mullet hairstyle right now. But when Superman arrives, he is greeted by a bunch of alien creatures from the spaceship. This is where they introduce themselves as the Hyperclan, and they are here to save the world. Now, there is no history to these characters because this is their first appearance ever in DC Comics. This leads to a few pages giving us a time span of these new people working to save the Earth over the next couple days. We learn that they come from a world that was destroyed by the hands of the people in that world, stating how the oceans dried out, there were constant wars, food supplies were low, and the list goes on and on. And so these few people came to Earth to save the people of Earth before the same thing happens again on this planet. Over the next couple of days, there are pulling miracles in different parts of the Earth, raining in places that never received rain before, bringing food to countries that were low on food, and growing new forests across the world. While these news reports are reporting this, you have different heroes watching this happen. Now you do have Superman jump in and kind of speak on the matter on how this could lead to a problem down the road. His argument is the cause and effect argument. Doing these things could lead to people's face getting too high. The environment across the world could change completely. Sadly, because it has been a few days, people of Earth have chosen the Hyperclan side. Now the Hyperclan, they are basically doing all of these great things, but they're doing some horrible things as well. For example, killing criminals who have broken the law. This is huge because they are doing these executions on live television, and so the whole world is watching this happen on their TVs. But this includes the Justice League as well. Now this is not the league we are about to get. This is the Justice League in the 90s, who had a full roster of C-list superheroes that no one cared for. But as they are watching the news of the Hyperclan, they are actually moving their stuff out so the new team can move in, which of course is the heroes we want to see. Now while they're getting ready to leave, their base that's in space is getting attacked by an unknown force. This leads to Green Lantern and Wonder Woman staying behind to help out while the C-list heroes try to escape from the base in space and go back to Earth. But the problem they run into is that the whole system has been shut down. This includes the escape pods as well. Now this leads to the quote death of Metamorpho. Well, not death, more of putting him on the back burner. Metamorpho was this character who had the ability to change his body to any any element of liquid, gas, or solid. And so with him being here, he is changing his body into a form that'll be able to fly down from space back to Earth. But inside of him, he will have the C-list superheroes who are being kicked out of the league. He is going to use his ability to change elements to protect them. The problem is that when he crash lands on Earth, the heroes inside of him survive the crash from space to Earth. But for Metamorpho, they stated that he is inert, which means he is alive, just can't move. Now back in space, you have Green Lantern and Wonder Woman try their best to defend themselves against this attack. At the same time, trying to keep the Justice League base from blowing up, because this was supposed to be the base for the new Justice League. Now this is Kyle Rayner, the fourth Green Lantern from Earth, and by this point in the 90s, he hasn't been Green Lantern that long. And so right now, he is trying his best to be helpful for Wonder Woman. Except when they try to work together, they were able to fend off the attack. The problem is that the Justice League base still blows up. This leaves us a couple hours after everything that took place in space, where we pick up with Superman and Flash right now talking to each other about what had happened, and they are heading to a meeting. Something to point out is that this is Wally West Flash. Now this meeting, of course, is all the A-list superheroes we have been waiting for. Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, and also Martian the Manhunter, where they all come to an agreement that the Hyperclan were the ones to attack the Justice League's base. That is when Batman comes in out of nowhere and adds to the fact that he has been studying them. To Batman, he thinks the reason why the world loves the Hyperclan so much because the Hyperclan must be using some form of mind control. This leads to Batman stating the fact that there's going to be a war between the Hyperclan and the Justice League. This leads to the following day, where we see that the Hyperclan have built 3 new bases across the world. These bases are huge in sizes, and they all have grabbed the attention of the whole world. Now you have the Hyperclan tell all these news channel reporters that they built these places to be able to handle problems across the world very quickly. They will break their team up into 3 groups, and each group will stay in each base. Now we know there must be something up their sleeve with these being built so quickly in a matter of 1 whole day. We can confirm this when we pick back up with the Justice League, and they are confirming that the bases that were built across the world are really places that are helping the Hyperclan control the minds of people of the Earth, also making the people of Earth hate the Justice League 24/7. This leads to the team breaking up into 3 groups to handle these different bases. Batman and Superman are Team 1. Green Lantern, Flash, and Martian Manhunter are Team 2. And finally, Wonder Woman is on her own. We follow Wonder Woman going to the base that is located in the middle of the ocean, where she is just going there to observe, not planning to attack the base at all. Of course, she is attacked by one of the members of the Hyperclan, and this member name is Flucus. I really hope I pronounced that correctly. He has the ability of being a shapeshifter, but in the middle of their battle, you have Aquaman appear as well. Now, Aquaman is not here to support Wonder Woman. He is more there to destroy the base of the Hyperclan because it's affecting the ocean. And Aquaman claims the ocean as part of his kingdom. Matter of fact, Wonder Woman and Aquaman do begin to argue about the idea of Aquaman did not want to join the Justice League. This leads to another member of the Hyperclan appearing as well, and this person is Tronix. I really hope I pronounced that name correctly as well. And she is just here to make the battle an even match between the two sides. And so you have Aquaman and Wonder Woman begin to battle against these two people. Except in the middle of their battle, Aquaman gets taken out very quickly, and that is leaving Wonder Woman by herself to fight against the Hyperclan. Except she does not even last that long either, and she is taken out as well. That is when we jump over to Flash and Green Lantern in the middle of the desert, where we see them arriving at another base of the Hyperclan. Except when the two get there, they realize that they lost Martian Manhunter, and he was part of the group as well, but he is no longer with them. That makes them worried about him. But before they are able to do anything about that, you have two other members of the Hyperclan appear out of nowhere, and they of course begin their attack on Green Lantern and the Flash in the middle of the desert. This leads to Flash and the Hyperclan speedster fighting against each other somewhere else in the world. This leads to us picking up with Superman and Batman arriving at the last base of the Hyperclan in the middle of the Arctic. Of course, when they arrive at the base, they are greeted by the last few members of the Hyperclan and begin their battle in the middle of the Arctic. Now remember that Batman is the only person out of both sides who does not have any superpowers as well. And so he was taken out very quickly by one of the Hyperclan members. This leads to Superman fighting by himself against these members of the Hyperclan. Except this is when you have the leader of the Hyperclan, Protex, pull out a piece of kryptonite to weaken Superman. And then they were able to knock out Superman and take him as a hostage. Now, as the Hyperclan is taking Superman away, we hear them talking about Batman, wondering if he is still alive, and they believe that he is dead. Of course, we know Batman is not dead. He survived, and he's already able to get inside the Arctic base of the Hyperclan. And this is where we see him basically state one of his lines, where he is stating he is going to make them pay for not acting like he's a high-level threat. This leads us back to the battle between Flash and the Hyperclan speedster, and his name is Zum. Now, while these two are fighting against each other, Flash realized something about the Hyperclan, and that is these people came out of nowhere. All of them have powers at Superman's level, and so it makes him wonder more about these guys. Also, while fighting against Zum, he realized that Zum is not connected to the Speed Force like he is, meaning that his super speed is different somehow. But most speedsters, he knows, powers come from the Speed Force. Now this battle does lead to Flash being able to beat Zum, but after beating him, we see Flash heading back over to Green Lantern to help him out with the other Hyperclan members. Now we bounce back over to Kyle Rayner fighting against the other two members of the Hyperclan, where we see him right now using his ring to fight against the both of them. Now Green Lantern is able to take one of them down, but when it comes to the other members of the Hyperclan, Wally West is able to get back in time to save Green Lantern from being attacked from behind. This leads to Flash and Green Lantern to defeat them and get inside the desert base of the Hyperclan. Now, while they're inside the base, you have Flash look around the base for some clues. This is where they find out that Superman has been captured, and just like the villains the Hyperclan killed earlier, they are going to execute Superman on live television in front of the whole world. Now, while they saw that piece of news, you have Flash find out that the Hyperclan were the ones responsible for the attack on the JLA base from earlier. But then you also have Flash find out that this is an invasion, that the Hyperclan were sent in first to make Earth defense weak, so the rest of the invasion team can come in and attack Earth with no problems at all. But while Flash found out this piece of information, that is when they get attacked from behind by some members of the Hyperclan, and they also get captured as well. This leads to every single member of the Justice League being captured except Batman, but they are being held in some machine that is going to kill them. That is when some of the security systems of the Hyperclan base has been shut down. This leads to them thinking it is Batman. Now, they still don't believe that Batman is a high-level threat, and so they send in one member of the Hyperclan to go after Batman. But when this member goes to look for Batman, he is able to find Batman, but the next page we see that member of the Hyperclan has been defeated by Batman, and he is still on the loose. And so this leads to other members of the Hyperclan going in trying to find Batman somewhere in the base. Of course, they were able to find Batman because he wanted them to find him. This is where Batman tells them that he knows that they are Martians, and he figured this out by the way they acted around fire. And so you have Batman light a match and throw it near a long puddle of gasoline to affect them. If you are new to DC Comics, one of Martian Manhunter's weaknesses is fire. And so the storyline is just reminding us that all Martians are weak to fire. And this actually ends with Batman being able to defeat them with that trick of his. This is where we see the leader of the Hyperclan, Protect, basically state that there are more of them coming to Earth, and so he makes an emergency call up to his army in space and tells Superman that there are 70 more Martians coming to Earth about to wreck the planet because they all have powers equal to Superman. This leads to Superman figuring out that these guys are really Martians, but he also realized that the kryptonite that the Hyperclan is using is not really killing Superman, not really the usual amount of pain it does to him when there are some around him. And so then he remembers that Martians have the ability of mind control, and right now they are making Superman think that there is kryptonite there next to him. But in reality, there isn't. And so you have Superman get out of the chair he was tied to and start to battle Protect in the middle of the base. Then when another member of the Hyperclan tried to jump into the battle to help out Protect against Superman, that is when she finds out that Martian Manhunter has been pretending to be one of the members of the Hyperclan to later trick them. This is where we see Superman and Martian Manhunter fighting the two members of the Hyperclan. This is where we learn that there are different color Martians, because these Martians are white, not green like Martian Manhunter, but we don't learn about their origin just yet. This leads to Martian Manhunter getting his butt kicked by the white Martians, and they start to question what he is going to do. Where are his friends to help him to win this battle? This is when we see the rest of the Justice League appear to help him out. Now let me just say, this is the quickest battle I read in a little while, because as soon as the rest of the Justice League gets here to help him out, they were able to wrap this battle up in a matter of minutes. And this leads to the final battle. This leads to Superman fighting against Protect, but Protect is in his white Martian form. And this is where we learn that basically the white Martians were the ones who made humans. We learn that millions of years ago, before the Earth was inhabited by humans, the white Martians came down and started to play around with the DNA of primitive creatures. We learned that Earth was supposed to be a planet full of godlike creatures. But since the white Martians came down, all of that changed. And when they returned back to Mars, they were banished in the Still Zone, a zone kind of like the Phantom Zone in Superman comics. It is a zone outside of space and time. But with the white Martians doing that, Earth was just left with humans. Now, this idea of the origins of humans in DC Comics was wiped out when DC launched the New 52, which The New 52 was a reboot. But getting back to the battle, Superman was able to defeat Protex and rejoin the rest of the Justice League. This leads to Superman going on live television and talking to the world about the invasion, stating how this invasion is happening by the hands of a bunch of white Martians. This leads to him telling them how they can defeat them by using fire against them, which we see the League and the people of Earth use fire against the white Martians. The invasion gets handled very quickly by the Justice League and the people of Earth. This leads to the conclusion where we see a few things happening in the book to lead us into the future of JLA, where we see after the invasion and the League was able to lock up the white Martians in a certain prison and somewhat quietly get rid of them in the worst ways. We see the Justice League build the Justice League Watchtower on the moon. This is huge to see in DC Comics because this is the first book that we ever see the DC Watchtower appear. This is something we see in DC Comics for the next few years because it was so iconic to fans to see their superheroes have a base on the moon. Then to close this storyline off, we see a random man named Bob Gray right now looking into a mirror, where he has been having strange dreams, but these dreams did not start until after the invasion was stopped. Right when the book closes, he looks deeper into the mirror and sees a reflection of a white Martian in it. This is stating that he could be a white Martian, but somehow his memory is messed up and he does not remember that life at all. And this is where we are going to end today's video right here. So guys, please hit that like button down below and also subscribe for more comic book stories like this in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read? Well, please let me know in the comments below because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But also guys, please hit that like button because I want to know if you guys want to see more JLA on this channel. But anyways guys, I'm out of here and I will see y'all in the next comic book video. Later guys.